The Motivational Mindset Podcast with Switch Motivation. Hello and welcome to episode 18. My name's Richard Knight, and this week I'll be chatting all things mindset with Abbie Hills.
Hello everyone, and thank you for having me, Rich. I've been really looking forward to, like you say, eventually pinning this down and doing it. So here we are. I'm Abbie. I'm a talent agent, access coordinator, writer and producer. I think they're the ones that I'll stick with today for this. Why do I do it? I think I've always had a really clear kind of knowledge and deep understanding of the industry I should be in. Not necessarily the actual job. I love to float around and do bits of everything, but I've always felt that I've had that kind of calling and pull towards working in the entertainment world and making a difference. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what I hope I'm doing anyway at the moment.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting. I ask that question to everybody who comes on and the different answers based on what it is we're looking to do in our lives, what difference we're trying to make. And that's an interesting one. You use that terminology there straight away I would like to make a difference. And I think that's core to a lot of what people do and want to do within a work environment. So you mentioned sort of the talent side of things and disability coordinator, etc. How did you get into the world of performing and being part of the entertainment industry?
By being a stubborn little kid that didn't want to do anything else, pretty much. And it really is that. And I kind of have my parents to thank for the fact that they honoured that and they didn't push me to do things that I didn't want to do. But yeah, I was always kind of acting, going to drama classes, writing. If my mum was with her friends trying to have like some chilled out time while the kids were upstairs, I'd come down in a Britney Spears costume and be like, watch my dance routine. Like it was always there for me, always, always. And then, as I got older, the journey and the shape just kind of changed. I made a few films, I did some modeling for a little bit. I, kept carrying on with my writing and acting, but then I shifted my focus into talent management because I was kind of meeting so many amazing people that didn't really know how to take the next step. And I was like, oh, I know how to take the next step. Let me help you do that. And then that's kind of where the agency side came from. And then, throughout my whole life, I've been living with cerebral palsy and I've had a real fire in my belly about accessibility and inclusion. And then working in entertainment as well, you realize how not there the industry is with supporting disabled people. And so that's the difference I want to make kind of alongside my creative work.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really interesting one around the whole entertainment industry, because on a lot of, what's the word? How am I trying to say this? In a lot of areas, it seems to be quite it's taking a lot of time to catch up with other work environments in other industries. We talk a lot about mental health and diversity, inclusion in a lot of other areas, my background's corporate world before I got into the acting side of things and doing other stuff, podcasts included, and that's been talked about for a fair number of years already. Have you seen a big change in that sort of willingness to change over the last few years, or is it still taking a long time for things to change within the entertainment industry?
It's never fast enough, I don't think, and it's never significant enough. There's definitely jobs that I've worked on and experiences that some of my clients have had and experiences that I've had that have been super positive. And, you're thinking, oh, yeah, the industry is changing. But then there's more experiences where it's not. And I can just think about that in terms of my own work and the sets that I've been on, as somebody who worked in costume or somebody who was a production assistant for a little bit. Like I think about my experiences and there's still such an imbalance. Yeah, no change is fast enough, really, is it? Like it's incremental, but that's not good enough, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does seem to take a long time for people to understand that there is so much talent within a diverse range of people in any industry. And I think it seems to be that a lot of industries are missing out, particularly from that creative space piece. There are people who are thinking, yeah, well, there's no point in me going into that because I'm not good enough, I haven't got the right attitude, or it's just not practical for me to get involved in that sort of thing. So it can make a massive difference, and that sort of leads towards the whole motivational side of things. if you're confronted by or have been from your own personal experience those issues within a work environment, how do you keep yourself moving forward? I mean, obviously you've stepped up and gone, actually, do you know what? I'm going to get into that role then, and I'm going to drive the agenda. But from a daily sort of energy point of view, how impactful can that be in terms of how you keep yourself going?
I think it can be difficult because often when you live with disability and you go on to a job or you're around people who don't have experience of it, you become the dictionary, the encyclopedia, the poster girl, whatever you want to call it, and that in itself is exhausting.
Hmm.
And then you kind of question why you've been brought into that space in the first place, which has definitely knocked my motivation at times when I think about my cerebral palsy being non-visible,
Hmm.
knowing full well that I've been hired to tick a box. That's really hard to then rise above that and stay motivated and stay focused. But I think when you have passion and you have such a fire in your belly for why you want to do the thing you're doing, that is what it always comes back to. It has to come back to purpose. Because if you just pay attention to what somebody said to you or how you felt in a space or the times it felt negative and you don't come back to your purpose, you're going to get further and further away from it. And then it's going to be more of a knock and it's going to be
Hmm.
harder to get back, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned purpose there. Is that something, I speak to a lot of people who say, yeah, I've got goals, I've got things that are written down that I know I want to get towards, and I can work my way back then and put in points of, of reference that I can make sure I'm tracking towards that sort of thing. Is that the way you sort of think about your purpose, or is it more of a general? I've got an understanding in my own head, and I know where I'm going in a general sort of direction. How does that work for you?
It's really interesting that we're talking about this now because I've been thinking a lot recently about what my purpose is versus what my dreams are.
Hmm.
And so I'm 30 next month, and I feel like I'm at this real transitional period in that I've always known from the age of like 8 or 9 in the Britney Spears costume, drawing the pictures, writing the stories, what I want to do and what my dreams are. But in the last sort of month or so, I've like had a look at my vision board and I've had to think about what those dreams are. Like move and work in LA by the time I'm 30, or things like this. And I'm like,
Hmm.
wait, what? Why do I want to do that? And even the other day, I was looking at my vision board and I was like, why is that on there? And then I started to get really freaked out, going, oh, I'm not aligned with my dreams and my purpose. And I was like, actually, it's not that deep. It's just progressive.
Hmm.
And so I started to try and reframe it because it did get me a little bit spun out for a while. I was like, oh, what am I doing? Nearly 30, where am I going? What's happening? And then you do this like cascade, which is not helpful to anyone or anything. So then I just kind of took a step back and I was like, oh, okay, how have I grown and what is the new dream and how does it come back to the purpose? Because I think the purpose does always stay the same, right?
Hmm.
But it's just all the other bits where you're like, oh, am I aligned with myself? Am I not? And then yeah, so that's been a real rabbit hole in the last sort of couple of months for me. And I think
Yeah.
it is because I'm approaching this new decade and like been running my agency nearly 7 years. And so there's a lot of growth with that as well. The clients I have, how many clients I've taken on, the relationship we have, the work we're striving for, everything does grow and change, but it comes back down to the point of I know why I started it.
Yeah.
And I know why every day I want to work towards it and I want to support these clients of mine.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. And that sort of leans towards when we're talking about from the motivational point of view, the idea that this motivation changes. It is fluid. It's flexible within our whole careers. And I think your point around that sort of markers within our lives, ages, relationships, all the other things that come in can impact the way we gather our energy. And a lot of the time, people sort of confuse it with, lack of purpose, lack of focus. Just I'm not good enough. It's not going to make any difference. And it's quite interesting to hear that from you. That it can be seen to be different as we go through our roles and our careers markedly. I mean, I'm 20 years in the corporate world. Everything I ever wanted was there. The wage was very good. I had a very nice car. I had lots of money to spend, go on some lovely holidays. So why did I bother giving that up after 20 years? What was that all about? And that was all about changing those motivators and the idea that, yes, I was doing something for somebody else and it was fulfilling and I was ticking boxes and everything, but that energy wasn't around. My energy was changing more towards that searcher, what we call a searcher motivation, which is around your purpose. It's around, am I really making a difference here? Or am I just going through the motions? And I think a lot of people get those slumps in their careers and throughout their life. So being able to identify that and have that acknowledgement, I think, is a really, really critical part to be in. And it sounds like you've sort of got to that point around 30. Oh, I wish I was 30 myself, my Lord. That was a good 30 is the new 20, isn't it, as they say? So in terms of that identification, have you changed the way you do things then since you've had that sort of epiphany, if you like, or is it continuing and just refocusing for you?
I've changed where my energy goes.
Hmm.
As in, I've changed what and who I will give my energy to if it's not a big yes from me. Whereas before, and I don't know whether this is an age thing or industry thing or to an extent a woman thing, like all of this stuff, but I know that a few years ago, I was quite people pleasing and I would say yes to a lot of things. And any opportunity in this industry is a great one. Da, 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 da. Last year or so, not a chance. If it doesn't light me up, I'm not doing it. Like that's the bottom line because that doesn't align with me. And I pay attention now to things that do make me feel excited and energized versus things that don't. Somebody said to me a couple of months ago, actually, like, and they were saying this around people, but I think it also applies to things. But he said to me, people in life are either radiators or drains. And now I always look for radiators because everyone's energy is limited, mine especially with an energy limiting disability and condition. I'm not, I'm very fortunate in the work that I've had, but I do think now I've kind of earned my stripes a bit in this industry, and I don't have to say yes to everything, and I don't have to people please, and I don't have to beg to be hired. Um, and that for me has been a big kind of realization. And I
Mm.
say that to my clients as well, like if even if they're not working or it's not, it's been a while since an audition's come in and they're kind of feeling disheartened and probably losing a bit of motivation. I just say like, don't reach for the low hanging fruit just because it's easy to grab. And then I tell myself that.
Yes, it's a very, very wise words. Yes, telling people one thing and then not doing it yourself can always
I
cause a
know.
few problems. But you often see that because people are clinging on to things that think might be that quick win. Because to your point there, not having those auditions or not getting the project. If you're in any other industry, you're not getting that bit of work. If you're within sales or not closing the deal or whatever it is, can be really, really soul destroying. So being able to actually take a step back and go, okay, how is that these interactions I've been having over the last few weeks pushed me towards my purpose or kept me going towards that end point that I've got? Because as they always say, it's not the end, it's not the goal that's where we should be going to or concentrating on. It's that journey piece towards it. And I think, from a motivational point of view, as difficult as it is that review piece on a weekly basis and saying, actually, what have I done this week? Particularly those weeks where you go, oh, nothing's come in, I haven't heard from anybody, et cetera, et cetera. Then, well, hang on a second, what have you done? If nothing happens this week for me beyond having a great conversation with Abbie, then what a great week it's been, because we've been trying to get this in the diary for so long. It's an absolutely massive win. So taking that and going, right, this is it, and marching into this week with an even better view of the world. So it does make a big, big difference. And to your point earlier, actually, you mentioned the sort of the mood board side of things, which some people might be aware of and others may not. Whether you use that terminology or not, I don't know. But actually being able to visualize things, you mentioned that. Is that something that's quite significant for you? Because some people are more visual than others. How does that work for you in terms of keeping on track?
I mean, I'm neurodivergent, so I'm definitely a visual person and a creative person, 100%. And I
Mhm.
think, like, to me, vision boarding is just I don't want to use the phrase growing up because I think it's still, still important to honor the kind of younger you. But like, when you're young, you daydream. you daydream a lot, you daydream all the time, and then we try and lose that. Oh, hello, my cat's here. She's come to join in the
Brilliant. Bring
chat.
cat. We love cats on podcasts. No worries.
Hello,
Yeah.
Lola. So yeah, you know, you daydream as a child, and you know, you do kind of lose that because, you know, when you have adult
Mm.
responsibilities, life gets in the way. But I think visualization is really important, and just having things that excite you. Like when my laptop, I am going to move my cat because she is really in the way and I can't see you. um, Hang on, I'm going to lose my train of thought. Lola, you have to get down, I'm afraid.
No
Um,
worries.
what was I saying? Yeah, having a vision board, having something to look at to kind of refocus, realign you, and excite you.
Yeah.
Um, mine does that. But like I said, when I was looking last week before, I looked at it and thought, oh, things need changing here a little bit. But then I also saw things on there. I was like, oh, I've done that this year. I've done that this year. I've done
Yeah.
that this year.
Yeah.
So whether it's something you study twice a day and then you meditate on it and you really embody that
Hmm.
visualization, or if it's just something you have as your laptop background so that you're not looking at some, I don't know, Mac photo of trees or something, you know, then you have something that's personal to you. Like however you use it, I do think it's important, especially if you are a creative person.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that again from creativity is a really, really important thing to remember. Where do you get most from in terms of whether it's visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, touch, feel about things? Can you actually tangibly be there in your mind and see where it can be? And I think this comes back a lot more to from a motivational point of view, is that sort of manifesting side of things. And up until a couple of years ago, I was sort of not really, not really sure about that. But having looked at the motivational piece and understanding that that is around its energy, it is absolutely energy. And guess what? This whole crazy world is made up of energy.
Hmm.
It has to be. That's the science piece. So whether you're scientific or spiritual or whatever else you want to look at it, that energy is there, whether it's vibrations or literally people being with you and giving off that energy. That's one of the key things you've got to keep keep in mind. And I think that goes back again to that drains side of things, people are radiators or drains. Hugely makes such a big difference. It's those, the idea that when you're walking onto set or when you're in a rehearsal room or all of those sort of things, and somebody's, oh, it's terrible, I didn't get that job, and oh, this is a nightmare, and I've had a terrible day, and this, strangely enough, I don't feel that I'm so attracted to that sort of person.
Mm.
But when you're starting out in something, you often feel, well, perhaps I should be in that environment. That's the way you act, isn't it? If you are an actor, or actually, I'll put it in a better phrase. I'm a wannabe actor. Straight away you've pushed yourself down into that sort of category of, well, you're not really an actor, then, are you? How
I
does that
agree with
happen?
this so much. I say
It's
this to my
amazing.
clients as
Yeah,
well. I say you have to position yourself where you want to be. Remove the word aspiring and want to be from your vocabulary. It does not belong there.
yeah.
It does not belong there. You have to really position yourself where you want to be.
Hmm.
And you really have to learn how to take rejection. When I used to, get rejections for things as like a 15-year-old kid, I felt like I'd be punched in the face. Now I feel like it's just a little scratch.
Hmm.
If that, barely notice it. You're like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't meant for me.
And that's definitely something that you get through with experience. And
Mm,
not to say that young people can't come through, have that understanding, but it does take a bit of time to understand that actually. And again, it goes back to your point around people pleasing. You're not here to make sure everybody else is really having a good time. Doesn't mean you go be horrible to everybody and walk over people to get to where you want to get to, but it's that, again, that old adage around, you've got to, your cup must be full before you can help, fill other people's. And I think so much of the time, from this energy point of view, you can see people who are running on empty,
mm,
really, really are. And it just comes through in, particularly from a creative space, from their performances. It's you're not there, you're not in that right space. So are you going to perform at the highest level you possibly can? And that is where motivation comes in terms of being able to perform at a higher level. If we're feeling good, amazingly enough, things feel easier. We do perform at a higher level, and other people feel more connected to us and actually would want to spend time with us. So that's really, it's a really interesting thing for everybody to be thinking about, sort of out there as they're listening to us today. So it does make a difference. So in terms of your sort of activities at the moment, if people haven't seen what you're up to, you're active on LinkedIn and on Instagram and all the social media sides of things, and telling people about what you're up to, and giving people insight as well from a disability point of view, which I love, because I've learned more about cerebral palsy than I've ever in my whole lifetime from your little clips that come
Oh,
on.
I
It's like,
love to
oh
hear
wow,
that.
that's cool, because you don't want to be preached at, so you don't want to feel someone's preaching to you, but it gives you those little bits of insight. So does that how does that affect the way you feel on a daily basis? Does that give you more energy?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the things that really light me up are supporting other people and talking to people. That's why I love doing podcasts. That's why I'm here. And
Yep.
actually, I just need to say this because I feel like based on what we were just saying, you'll love this. On Halloween, I was setting my intentions for what I want to do in November and the things I want to do in November. And one of the things was to do 3 more podcasts this month.
Hmm.
Well, it's the 3rd of November, and here we are doing a podcast. So, kind of setting intentions and manifestation is a real thing. I
Yep.
really, really believe that. But yeah, the things that light me up are talking to other people, supporting other people, and also being an advocate because there was a long time where I had a lot of resistance around my disability and then it made me feel very othered. But now I've embraced it as such a huge part of my identity because it is. And I think that with a little bit of comic relief, everyone's going to get
Hmm.
on board, aren't they? And they're going
Hmm.
to learn something new and they're going to have a curiosity that doesn't come from anxiety because a lot of people are reluctant to learn and ask questions about disability because they're scared of saying or doing the wrong thing. So I think if I can just be candid and make it a little bit funny
Hmm.
and at times tie it into my creative work, I love doing that. That definitely that gives me a
Hmm.
lot of energy. I love it.
And as I say, that adding value to other people there is huge. It does make a
Hmm.
big difference, even if it's just that little subconscious. People watch it for 10 seconds or so and start to go, oh, okay, that's yeah, fair enough. And I think that's it is the power of the technology and the social media side of the world that we live in at the moment, and that for me makes a big difference in terms of the energy levels and those side of things. Because to your point there around people not feel of how comfortable people feel about talking about disabilities. I put my hand up to it all the time. I'm sitting there going, well, I don't know enough. Do you ask? How do you ask? What do you talk about it? What terminology you use? But I'm assuming that from your point of view, you'd rather just have a conversation than somebody not bother speaking and, sort of tiptoeing around the issues.
Totally. I'm so happy to talk to anybody as an introductory point, but what I won't do is answer all the questions. I'll signpost and I'll tell you
Okay.
where to find out information,
Hmm.
and I'll talk to you a bit about my kind of candid experience as one person living with cerebral palsy, because let's not forget it's a huge disability. It affects so many people worldwide, and I'm just one example of that. So I will never give, I'll never give sort of generalized knowledge too much. I can say speaking from my experience. And I'm always happy to be the kind of jumping off point from that, especially if it's a friend of mine or somebody I know and they feel they can come to me. But what I won't do is answer DMs every day of the week, being like, oh, you know how you said that? You know how you said that? Because I think there's
Hmm.
a responsibility to educate yourself as well. But
Yeah. Yeah.
if it starts with a softer way in so that you don't have that intimidation and that fear, then fine, I'll do that. But I'm
Yeah.
not going to be like I said earlier, the encyclopedia, the dictionary, or the poster girl,
Yeah.
because I don't need to do that. I
No.
have an energy limiting illness, so I have to protect my energy where I can. I can't give it to everybody else.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I think, there's lots of information out there, and it always amazes me the number of people who go, "Oh, I don't know these things." It's like, well, everything you need to know is everywhere on the internet at the moment. You've got to sift through a lot of rubbish, but there's a lot out there to
Yeah,
to
if you can go
connect.
down a rabbit hole finding out what some actors first cameo film was in the 90s when they were 18. You can find out a little bit about cerebral palsy or
I love it.
disability. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, no, it's very true. Yes, we do tend to to use up our time on absolute rubbish rather than something that could really quite be, significant difference. So I think that's something that I know I definitely can do in terms of that. Interestingly enough, actually, from a motivational point of view, I was just thinking about it there when I sort of mentioned technology again. So here's a big one for all creatives out there in the world: AI.
Hmm.
So, from your point, I know I've probably thrown this one on you, but it'd be interesting just to understand from your point of view. Does this impact the AI, the idea that, actors are going to be replaced and voiceover artists aren't going to be there anymore, and so on and so forth? Have you seen this having a negative impact from a sort of a motivational point of view at the moment? Is it something that you're concerned about? You speak to your clients about?
I think awareness is good, but I don't think you should feed into the fear because acting and performance is a human art form.
Hmm.
First and foremost, it really is. And I think, I can't remember which country it is now that's just set up a legislation on how AI is used. I don't want to guess because I feel like I'll say the wrong country, but in terms of TV and film. So I think that these big studios and these companies over time are going to come up with policies and legislations. But I think us, like, when we're thinking about the day player roles on the BBC to start with to get that first credit or your first feature film, like, AI is not coming for that.
Yeah.
Don't feed, educate yourself, be aware. Um, don't the only thing that I would be apprehensive about for unrepresented actors out there is knowing how to read contracts properly and make sure you clearly understand if there is an AI clause in there, especially if you are a supporting artist or you do extra work and then you're like, yeah, I'll get a
Yeah.
body scan. I'm only
Yeah.
getting paid £120 a day, but I'll have my body scanned and now they can use my body forever.
Yeah.
Awareness, but I would say this even without AI, awareness around the business of the entertainment industry is so important,
Hmm.
even if you have an agent because you don't ever want to feel like your agent is talking above you with somebody else. You want to still have an understanding of what they're discussing and you want to have base knowledge of contracts and because it is a business and you are a business as your own person. So yeah, I don't think you should fear AI. I think you should be aware of it and I think you should understand the business of the industry and
Hmm.
those and then just stay in your lane and carry on and book those jobs and put your energy into the good thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's something that oftentimes people get confused about in terms of the energy point of view. It's, well, if somebody else is doing it like this, then I better do it like this. I'll come out of my lane, I'll come out of my channel, and I'll go and try that
Mm.
because it seems like it's working for them. But I think because we're all individuals, we've got to really, really focus on the fact that yes, we are all individuals. There's no point in sitting there going, yeah, but they're getting that and I'm not. Why not? Because it's a different time, it's a different journey that they're on completely and utterly, and they're using different forms of gathering energy, which enables them to do things in different ways. And I find myself doing it quite a bit because I've got a fantastic ability to move on to something new very rapidly. Now can be a superpower in some respects because I can think about different things and move around like that. But actually, getting stuff done can be quite annoying because
Yeah,
too
I
busy
relate
going.
to that.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see that? Oh, look, there's something more. Oh, look, squirrel. There we go. Off I go somewhere, something else, and you leave it behind and you try something else and that didn't work. So you go somewhere else. Is that something that you've mentioned that you find yourself? And does that have much of a negative impact on the way you do things? How do you push yourself back onto focus?
Oh, 100%. The biggest hit is my writing because
Hmm.
I'll start writing something, then write something else, and all these scripts are like, Abby, come back. What about me? Come, and then I'm just like away with the fairies, like, oh, maybe I'll design a fashion collection today. Maybe I'll do this. Like, and it is, I do find it quite challenging, and I'd be lying if I, said it didn't overwhelm me because it does. Like sometimes I think, right, I'm blocking out half an hour of creative work today.
Hmm.
And then I spend 15 minutes of that half an hour freaking out because I don't know which project to pick.
Hello. Hope you're enjoying this episode. When you've finished, why not subscribe to the Motivational Mindset Podcast to learn more about motivation in business and beyond? Thanks. Now, back to the podcast.
And that's my own fault because I've made them all. And I've started to now think instead, like, oh, wow, like, I've got so many things to choose from because I've got so many ideas rather than, oh, well, I've got to shut my laptop and never going to look at that again because that scares me and I've got too much going on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is difficult.
Hmm.
The focus part is difficult, but I do need to honor the fact that I like variety. I mean, this is why I have so many different job roles, right?
Yeah.
Because I love it.
Hmm.
And I do love the variety, but it's kind of, I'm in the process of figuring out how to make it work for me so that I don't get that little bit of fear that I'm,
Mm.
try not to have anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
just choose one thing. It doesn't have to be the right thing. Just choose one thing. I think this is me talking to myself now.
Yeah.
When I think about the writing I have to do later, just choose one, Abby. Just choose one script. Choose one thing just for today. And if you do a different script tomorrow, whatever, that's fine.
I feel your pain in terms of that side of things because it's something get absolutely caught up in myself going, oh, I've got to do this, got to do that, got to do the other. And then that turns into waking up at whatever time in the morning going, oh my God, I still haven't done all of those sort of things. So the
Mm,
idea around that, keeping the motivation piece is really interesting because you can also reward and recognize when you're doing a good job in one of those areas by actually rewarding those motivators in the right way. So there's
mm,
some people who love the idea, well, particularly from a work point of view. Traditionally, a reward for work and being motivated and doing a good job is money. There you go. Here's your money. Now, of course, we all need it because we've got to pay bills, we've got to buy food and all of that sort of thing. So you do have to have it. But there's lots of other things out there that provide that motivation. And it may well be just as simple as saying, good job to yourself on that weekly basis and say, look, I've had a really good week actually this week. What were my wins? And and a little bit of a actually, if I do these things during this week on Friday, I'm gonna go to the pub. I'll have a drink, or buy a bottle of wine, or if you don't drink, I might go for a walk or go and do some exercise or whatever else it might be. So I know from my personal experience is stepping back a little bit and going, actually, hang on, what is a reward and recognition that fits me at the moment? Is it having a to-do list and I tick it all off? Because some people that works brilliantly because they'll just go down every point and they'll get to the bottom. Doesn't work so well for me because I go through point one and point two and then I see point 10, go, oh, that's more exciting.
That's me.
I'll
Yeah,
go and
that
do
is
that
me.
instead.
Yeah, loud and clear on that one. That is absolutely my to-do list today and every day, pretty much. But I love the act of writing things down and like handwriting things and then
Mhm.
scribbling them out. But then I look at the end of the day and I'm like, why is number three and number nine still there?
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it is that motivation is because your systems, your internal mechanisms are thinking to themselves, actually, that was more entertaining. I got more energy from doing that, and I think it's a brilliant thing as human beings to have because that drives us and it makes us individuals as well. And recognizing that there are certain things that are more fun and
Mm.
engaging in life, not having
Do
that
you
job
know,
that's 9 to 5.
I've really tried to be that person
Mm.
that's like, eat the frog,
Hmm.
do the
Yeah.
boring thing first. I can't do it, Richard. I've tried. I've tried. It's not for me. I don't want the frog. The frog, unfortunately, will still be there on Friday from my Monday to-do list. And I've made peace with it.
Yeah.
I've
No,
made peace with it.
I think that's fantastic. And it's really refreshing because so many people in the old school world of that psychology piece was now you get it done early doors. You know, if it's a matter of life or death, then fair enough. Yeah, get on with it. Are there other ways that we can do it? Are
Mm,
there other ways? Are there other people that can do things? It's accounts, numbers, not my thing.
mm,
Can somebody else do it? Yes, they can. Then get somebody else to do it, and then
mm,
you can cover that cost or whatever it is, time, by doing something else that we really enjoy. And from my point of view, having been through, various roles in my career, various jobs, it's identifying those bits that really do give you that energy. And a lot of people are starting to get past the old view of the world, which is you do your education and you get a job, you have a
mm,
career, and you stick with it. and you move on through. So it is changing a heck of a lot. It definitely is. And so from your point of view with your clients, from the talent agency point of view, have you got a big range of ages within that? How do you perceive the difference in the motivational levels of your clients?
Interesting question. I mean, I don't represent kids and teenagers. It's 18 plus,
Yep.
18 through to about 60. How do I notice a difference in motivation? I mean, often I call people out on it, to be honest,
Hmm.
because we do monthly like coffee club meetings on Zoom and stuff. And within that, like we sure we'll chat about the industry, but mostly we actually chat about mindset.
Mm.
Um, what is blocking you? Why is it blocking you? Are you getting in your own way? Sorry to say this, you probably are. You know, do you need, have you booked new headshots? Why haven't you done that? Have you done this? Why haven't you done that? And, some of it's financial, of course it is,
Hmm.
but other times it's fear. It's fear. And I don't think that is an age thing. There's a fear and anxiety around probably being perceived actually. And I
Mm.
think in order to get to the next kind of stage of being an actor and get to that next level that you want to be at, you need to abolish that fear because it will keep you small.
Hmm.
I think,
Yeah.
you can say all you want in your head that, oh, I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to audition for this. But if you've got some anxiety or some fear that you can feel kind of in your chest, you're going to shrink.
Yeah.
Everything's going to shrink. Um, and so I talk a lot about that because I find that really fascinating. And I've definitely been in there and I notice, I've just started to notice a lot of things about myself actually. But, I notice now how I feel when I walk into certain rooms
Oh yeah. Hmm.
because I feel like I have to, because it's just being aware of, it's going to affect your mind, it's going to affect your body language, it's going to affect whether you walk up to somebody and talk to them or not, or whether you wait
Mm.
to be approached. And I just think I'm just trying to become so much more aware of the things that drive me, but also the things that hold me back. And I try and put that to my clients too, because there's so many elements of the entertainment industry that you can't control. The
Mm.
competition is rife, the standards are really high. It's the Wild West out there sometimes, but what you can control is what your dream is, how you see yourself getting there, I think.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
think because often you are in your own way. We all do it.
And do you think that's a lot to do with the way we feel other people see us, and that
Oh yeah.
we are trying
Mhm.
to fulfill some sort of idealistic view of life?
Definitely. Definitely. It comes down to fear of what other people think of you. But like, like I just said, the fear of being perceived. You can say all day long that you want to be on stage in front of hundreds of people and thousands of people, but then if there's a little like scared part of you, that's gonna like really, really shine through, and that is actually gonna get in the way a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So self-limiting belief side of things.
Hmm.
So from a neuro-linguistic programming point of view, the idea that you have those blocks,
Hmm.
that something is saying in the back of your head, yeah, but you're never going to be quite get there because of this or that or the other, or you're a little bit too, you've got too much weight, or you haven't got enough hair, or the skill level isn't quite there, even from an outsider performing point of view in any job. And
Mm.
it's that sort of self-sabotage piece. And you mentioned sort of gender and age earlier on when we were talking. That can have a massive impact. Not necessarily going to be able to do everything about it, but that awareness piece seems to make a big difference. And I think that's something that you seem to have you've spoken about yourself when you get to that sort of 30 years old and you've gone, oh, actually, hang on a second, something's changing. And has that awareness for you come from? You mentioned before we started recording, you've been zooming off to foreign clients doing retreats and things. Is that right, or I got that wrong?
Yeah, and I actually joke about it, even though I did find it really great and actually quite transformative to me. But I say I've become one of those unbearable people that went on a retreat once and now they won't stop talking about it. But it is kind of true because there were things that led up to that. Like I left a not great relationship and I had all these big life changes and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to go to Mexico and like cry and laugh for 2.5 weeks and see if that makes me feel better. And it did actually. I have way more awareness about myself now. Um, I'd always been a big thinker. Like I always try and find the reason for things or the whys behind things, which is amazing, but sometimes can be exhausting. Um, but also to an extent, I would just go with the flow, go with however I felt each day, but not really think about it kind of deeply. Whereas I do now, I think about my internal world a lot more. Whereas I think kind of, well, more so in the last year. Whereas before that, my external world is what mattered. And I've had this shift now, trying to get my internal world to kind of be okay first, because then I believe now that my outer world will then match the
Hmm.
kind of dreams and intentions of my inner world. Like I really, really do believe that. And that's
Hmm.
something that I've become quite passionate about,
Hmm.
which I think when you do work in an industry like entertainment, it's so important to have belief, to have
Yeah.
dreams and purpose and have belief, but also just to have awareness about how you feel and how things make you feel and how people make you feel. And like we were talking about earlier, with radiators or drains, I love that so much. I can never get tired of saying that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, awareness now is just something that's kind of come to me. I don't
Yeah.
know how to
Hmm.
say it without saying that I've become more aware of awareness, which sounds so stupid. It doesn't make sense,
No,
but
yeah, no,
yeah.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's actually, and this comes down to a lot of the time when you talk about sort of mental state and the motivational side of things, people say, well, it just happens, doesn't it? But actually, it's like a lot of things in work and life. If there is a structure, then you start to fall into a pattern of behavior. So it's
Mm.
like, I used to be in the sales environment. If you have a sales structure to a conversation, the chances are you're increasing your likelihood of getting to an outcome that is the one you're looking for. And the same goes from a thought process point of view. If you're thinking about things in a structured manner, i.e., at the end of your week or at the start of every month, going, right, what is it I want this month? At the end of the week, have I got there? You are starting to put patterns into your behavior and your thought processes. So therefore, the brain loves a pattern,
Mm.
really loves and being able to go, okay, this is where we go. And we all do it. If you think about when you get up in the morning, what's your routine? People obviously often don't think about it, but it may well be the routine is as soon as you wake up in the morning, you turn your phone on and start scrolling. Guess what? That may not be the most beneficial way of having, a morning routine to be able to get your brain into the right frame of mind to then go and perform at a higher level during the day and get the motivation aligned.
I really noticed that
Hmm.
because my default was to do that. Like, oh, have we had any castings come in from
Mm.
America overnight? Da, 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 da. And I would notice that if I check my phone first thing in the morning, by 2 o'clock, I need a nap.
Yeah.
If I checked my phone this morning and had a little doom scroll, Rich, we would not be recording this podcast at 2 o'clock because
Really?
I'd be having a
Yeah. Yeah.
nap.
Yeah.
Flat out. I
Yeah.
would. And the same with at night. If I don't, it's really hard and I'm still trying to build that new habit. But if I check my phone or I'm scrolling on my phone right before the minute I go to sleep, I'm not
Mm.
having a good sleep. I'm
No.
riddled with anxiety the next day, and I feel great, to be honest.
Mm.
Whereas if I like this morning, I hit my alarm, left my phone upstairs, didn't even look at it when the alarm went off, just like tried to feel around and press the button.
Hmm.
Needs to get an alarm clock and really break up with
Yeah.
my phone. That's the next
Yeah. Yeah.
step. But
Yeah.
left my phone upstairs, came downstairs, put on some like lovely flute music that I love, pressed my coffee, I took way too long making my breakfast. I didn't need to take that long, but it was just lovely. I just love the
Hmm.
ritual of it, like instrumental, just my thoughts, making food, having the food, being mindful. And then I was like, oh yeah, my phone's upstairs.
Yeah.
And that
Mm.
to me is so much better. And I'm still like I'm not doing that every day. Some days I am having a little doom scroll.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Really trying to break up with doing
Hmm.
that though, because I like people are like, oh, you won't notice it. You do.
Yeah.
You really, really do.
Oh, it's massive. It is. It does make a big, big difference. I mean, it's like a sort of talk about alcohol again. I don't drink that much, honestly, but when you have a few drinks on an evening, my sleep is nowhere near as good as if I
Mm.
don't drink anything on an evening. And I'm not saying I'm getting absolutely, paralytic, but even a couple of glasses of wine or whatever, I can tell the difference. And again, it's the same as the phone side of things. It's those distractions, those things that get in the way of your thought processes. And some people say, "Well, I don't want to be alone with my own thoughts." it gets terribly dark. But
Mm,
actually, if you can then, from a motivational point of view, ensure that you are getting into some sort of meditation thought process, a meditative angle, rather than just a, oh, this is terrible, breathing exercises, all those other things that can really make a big difference, particularly first thing in the morning, setting
mm.
yourself up for the day, because it makes such a big difference. So it's
Oh,
yeah,
do you know, I love a good think and look out the window.
yeah,
I love sitting there with my coffee, having a good think and look out the window. That to me, that's the best morning, not, just doom scrolling. And I've really
yeah,
started to ask myself now, like before I pick up my phone, again, work in progress. But when I go to pick up my phone, it's like, what are you looking for?
hmm,
If the answer is like, oh, I'm looking for that email from that casting director, last, fair enough,
there we
pick up
go,
your phone,
yeah,
do it. If it's, oh, I'm looking to see how many hits my video got last night, or I'm looking to see if that person texts me back, like, no, leave it.
yeah.
Because that's validation. Leave it right there. Do you know what I mean? And I'm really trying to like be strict on myself with that.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally get that, and I think the algorithms in all of the social media are starting to change a little bit in terms of going away from the number of likes. So people just go
Mm,
keep tracking it and all that sort of thing. And it's about interaction and it's about value
mm,
and time people spend.
mm.
And actually, that's more of a reflection of what you want from human relationships
Well, yeah.
directly face to face. Is, I don't want you to wave at everybody just to wave at me and acknowledge me down the street. It's quite nice to have a conversation and
Mm,
understand what's going on in your world and ask some questions and find out your point of view and have a conversation. Maybe they should think about doing this in America rather than just having a go at each other. But you know
yeah.
where I'm coming from.
Mm,
Any politics, any country, to be perfectly honest. But it does make a big difference to be able to have a conversation in depth and to be able to understand and show interest. And I think that, particularly from my point of view, gives me a lot of energy as well. It's like, oh,
mm,
okay, so I understand you a little bit more. And from a work environment point of view, I think that gives us much better relationships from a work point of view. You mentioned the entertainment industry can be so, um, 1 minute you're in, next minute you're not. You're only in there for a couple of hours. You're only meeting people shortly, but you can gather a little bit more information by just having hi, how's your day going, rather than just, nodding and keeping in your own world. And so I
mm.
think and it is harder for some people. The networking piece around the entertainment industry. How do you find that yourself? Because I know I've seen you zooming off to Cannes and doing various things, and you're all over the place. How does that work for you? Hard work or enjoyable?
I think it depends where I'm at in terms of my physical energy now.
Hmm,
I'm talking about just because of my CP and stuff.
hmm,
But if I'm on top form and I'm well rested, and I'm in a good environment that makes me feel good, and I've got an outfit on that makes me feel good, I'll talk to anyone.
hmm.
But I really do notice that it's almost like I have to be in like optimal conditions to be a
Right.
successful networker because
Yeah.
otherwise I think when you walk into a space, you'll know very quickly like what the vibe is.
Hmm,
Like I've gone to networking things before that feel very corporate. I'm like, oh God, I can't stand it. I'm going to try and talk to one person, then I'm going to leave because one connection is better than no connection. Other times, if I'm at Cannes or I'm at a film festival or if I've just come off a panel, oh, I just love it. I just
hmm,
love it so much.
hmm.
Um, Whether people seem more approachable or whether I feel more confident
Yeah.
is a different question. And this is what I was, saying about kind of our internal worlds earlier, because I probably do feel more confident in that environment. I probably feel more confident at a film festival than I
Hmm.
do in a business center. I'm really grateful that I've won quite a few awards for starting my business and the
Yeah.
work that I've done around that. But I don't think I'm that comfortable in entrepreneurial spaces compared to creative ones. And
Yeah.
I noticed that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I've been doing it a long time now, networking, and you have to, it's feast
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
famine in this
Absolutely.
industry, Rich. You have to
Oh,
learn to
no,
talk
no,
to
yeah,
people.
yeah, totally get it. And I think in any industry, there's
Mm,
lots and lots of areas where people don't bother doing the networking thing because they're in their own world, they're in their own job, they're in their own department. They don't need to go outside it, and
mm,
it's a shame because even if you don't really need to get a job or get another job or sell something or whatever, you get to speak to other people, you get to learn about somebody else. It just broadens everything you've got. And me, from a motivational point of view, I love, general knowledge. I love understanding stuff. If there was a GCSE in absolute nonsense and rubbish that you never really need, I would have got A+ all the time. Which is great. And now it does help in the life that you lead. So doing all that networking piece is really, really critical. And I think some people don't like it, but I think if you've got a purpose behind why you're doing these things, then you're more likely to be successful at it again. So it comes back to your point earlier around that purpose and this searching and your reason why you're doing those sort of things. So we have been talking for a while now, and I think it's time to start to wrap it up. And as I mentioned earlier on, I do this with all my guests on the podcast, is just to finish up, just to ask you if there was one thing that you could share with the listeners about motivation and your motivation that seems to have worked for you, or give them a top tip. Do you have anything that you might like to share with the listeners?
Now, I want to think on this for a minute, because I am at this, point where I'm kind of changing my way of thinking and my way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
I think alchemize the fear.
Oh, I'm liking this one already. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think alchemize the fear. I think like it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm scared, so I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
What about being like, oh, I'm scared, so I am doing it?
Yeah.
I think that's it, because a couple of years ago, I don't really make New Year's resolutions and stuff, but I've oftentimes said next year is going to be my yes year. I'm going to say yes to things that I either don't feel prepared for or things that scare me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing that now for about 3 years, and it's been absolutely life-changing. So yeah, I think alchemize the fear would probably be my
Fantastic.
parting comment, my
Thank
parting
you.
gift.
No, that's marvelous. Absolutely. So yeah, let's get out there. Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. Life is what it is. We've got days and days to go and do stuff. Let's make the most of them. I think is probably one of the key things from my point of view as well is, make the most of it. Let's make the most of it. If people would like to get in contact with you and have a conversation with you, or understand what you do a little bit more, or even ask you to come on their podcast or speak at their event, how could they get in contact with you?
Oh, I'm everywhere. LinkedIn, I'm Abbie Hills.
Yep.
Instagram is It's Abbie Hills.
Yep.
My agency is called the Daisy Hills Company, spelled Dazey, just to make things confusing. Yeah, and I'm just around.
Right.
You'll find me.
Fantastic. No, fantastic. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you today, Abbie. Thanks ever so much for your time, and have an absolutely fantastic day.
Thank you.
This was a Switch Motivation production from Switch Performance Limited. Music by Dennis Kischuk from Pixabay, the Motivational Mindset Podcast. Download, listen, subscribe.